Good morning and namaskar. This is my 28th lecture, and I will talk a little bit about how feminist theory is related to genocide. I talked about feminist theory a lot from my lecture 1 till lecture, I think, 16. It was all about different types of feminist theory. We started with Aristotle. Now let's go back and look at the definition of genocide again. First, Raphael Lemkin. By genocide, we mean the destruction of a nation or an ethnic group. Generally speaking, genocide does not necessarily mean the immediate destruction of a nation, except when accomplished by mass killing of all members of a nation. It is extended rather to signify a coordinated plan of different actions aiming at the destruction of the essential foundation of a national group with the aim of annihilating the group themselves. Together with this, let us add Pandit Janaraj, the author of the third Raj Tarangini, which is not that much publicized. The core of Janaraj's definition is Jati with Twangs. Jati, the word Jati is race. I would rather call it race than ethnicity, and that's very important. Now let's go back to my first couple of lectures, especially Aristotle. How does Aristotle organize society? He organizes society in the same way that our souls organize. For him, a good soul, a virtuous rather, I would use the word virtuous. The end of human life is to be the virtuous human being. What is a virtuous human being? One whose soul is in harmony. What does he mean when he says the soul is in harmony? He means that the rational part is at the top. It's sort of controlling the irrational, the vegetative parts, the instincts and the emotions. Of course, we are born with anger, hunger, and so forth. But can we control anger? We can show exactly the right anger at the right point. And someone who can do that through their rationality, that's a virtuous human being for Aristotle. It's the same model. Let me show the model by drawing a little on a piece of paper. These are the emotional parts. He calls it the vegetative parts. This is the rational part of the soul, R, and it can control the vegetative parts. When it's in control, like a horse, good charioteer is one who can control the horses and can lead it to its destination. The model of the state for Aristotle is exactly like the soul. So what's at the bottom, and we talked about this earlier, the oikos or the household. What is the purpose of the household? Because for Aristotle, everything has a purpose. The purpose of the household is production, everything that our market does. And of course, the rearing of children, reproduction, and so forth. Who lives in the household? The Greek aristocratic male is at the top. It's a very hierarchical system. Then the Greek woman, and then the slaves and the children. Why is the Greek male at the top? Aristotle will say you're asking the wrong question. It's natural. Like water always flows down. It's natural because he has rationality. It's exactly like the soul. His schema of the state is exactly like the soul. The rational parts controlling the irrational parts. And then who's after, just below the rational male? The Greek woman. Being Greek, she has rationality, but it's confused, which means that she cannot use it. So she has to be subordinated to the Greek male. And then the slaves. The slaves have no rationality. Now, since for Aristotle everything has a purpose, what is the purpose of the Greek male? To control and organize, keep society intact, the oikos. And the purpose of the Greek woman is to reproduce the Greek species, to keep the Greek species intact, reproduction and nurturing and bringing up. And what's the purpose of the slave? To produce things needed for our daily lives. We, in industrial capitalism, we use the market to buy our clothes, our food and everything. But in Greek society, in ancient times, the household was the market, oikos, from which we get the word economics. Now, what is the purpose of the Greek male? Not only to keep the household intact, which is the basis of society, but also to go to the polis and do the planning. Where is the polis? A series of household constitutes a village. In a village, everyone's connected to everyone else, either through blood or marriage. And this will be very important to us when we do the African jihad. enclavement and so forth. So remember this. Everyone's connected in some way or the other, and several villages form a polis. The polis is the highest institution. It's the state. Only the Greek aristocratic male can go to the village. If you ask Aristotle why, he will say because he has rationality. It's natural. Only he can make decisions and planning. So it's a hierarchical system. Now, the Greek species have to be nurtured. So one of the things in genocide is the destruction of the species. Jati Bidhwangs, it's very, very relevant here. And this is colonization and also genocide. Genocide does not mean the killing of everyone, but they can change the race, because as individuals, we are carriers of our civilization, but as races, we are also carriers of our civilization. So if you can change the race somehow, then the carriers of civilization will go. How so? The people around southwest US and further down, they're all mestizos. What are the mestizos? They are not Spanish. They are not native. So the Spanish conquistadores and the native women, what we would call it sexual violence, rape, but that's not how general patriarchal society would call it. Their intermixture formed this new race, and this new race will never be a carrier of their original native culture. So it's much more synthetic. It's diluted. It is dissolved. So that's a way of Jati Bidhwangs. It's directly related to genocide. Again, it doesn't have to be the killing of all the members. This is just one example where feminist theory will meet genocide theory, but I'll go into other important things before we go into what is jihad, African colonization, how it's similar and maybe also a little different from that one in the Indian subcontinent. And so this is very important for us to understand. Keep in mind all the feminist theory I've talked about, because this will come back again and again when we talk about jihad, genocide, and so forth. That's all for this lecture today. Namaskar.